I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things. Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it. The most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. The show goes on!
It's Wednesday night and fantasy football is on the agenda. Grab a seat and let's get down to business. It's time for the Fantasy Boardroom. Here's your host, Tycoon.
And welcome to the Fantasy Boardroom. I am your host and fantasy CEO, Tycoon. We're one day late today. We are here on a Thursday evening. Events beyond our control, but the show goes on. So tonight, I am thrilled to bring you a very special guest. He is somebody I've become a little bit close with over the summer as we've gotten to know each other. He is the co-founder and co-host of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. He is the co-founder of the Fantasy Walkabout. He is content and graphic creator for Fantasy Intervention and for the Dynasty Vipers. He is a professional wrestling extraordinaire. He is my opponent in my Chemical Romance division in Scott Fishbowl 11. He's talented. He's tough. He's Canadian. He's Thomas Tipple. Thomas.
That is 100% correct. I am Canadian. I'm a little tough. Talented, probably a stretch. But hey, we're here, and we are a day late. That's my fault. We had a power outage. But we're here. We made sure to get it in. We weren't rescheduling nothing.
No,
we're here.
There's no fault.
Like you said, we're my chem div. I'm repping my chem jacket. But because this is a boardroom, we're going to make it a little more business appropriate. And we're going to rep it. So let's do it.
See, this is how you do a show. Best of both worlds.
That's right.
I love this.
We're doing dress casual for the after hours boardroom meeting.
Absolutely. I mean, you're putting in late. You can take it a little easy. I mean, still need you on your game, but or maybe I don't. Maybe I don't want you on your game because again, I have to compete with you this season in Scott Fishbowl and.
Hey. So, I'm going to be giving you some deliberate misinformation in the boardroom so you don't know which way I'm going.
At this point, it doesn't do me any good. So
fair.
So today, you're a dynasty expert, I like to say. Now, if you're going to shy away from the expert, forget that, but you're a dynasty guy. So today we are going to focus on dynasty.
I just surround myself with smart people like Jacob and Billy and Tom Lee and take all the credit from them. You know, like a boss does.
Exactly. I was just going to lead it. See, you already understand the complete ethos of the boardroom.
I got you. I did my research. You don't come to a board meeting without doing research.
You sure don't. No. But yeah, you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, better than you. And that's exactly why you hire them, why you have them around. I mean,
that's right.
Why try to do something yourself that other people are better at? But take the credit, of course, because you brought it together.
Always take the credit.
And so today, value shopping is our theme. I'm going to kind of tie that in to sales training because they are going to be related here in the way we're referring to it. And when I say sales training and value shopping, I'm referring to dynasty buy lows. That's really what the focus is going to be and how to make an offer for them. So going to need to understand how to sell what you're trying to sell to gain what you need to gain. And each of us is going to give a couple of targets, what we think you should try to offer, may reasonably be able to expect to succeed with, and how to approach it. Understanding your league mates, how to negotiate if negotiations are appropriate. We'll go from there. And then following that, we'll do a little review around the league, Park Avenue Journal, just quick hitters on some bigger fantasy headlines. we'll see what time allows there, but we'll just make sure everybody's caught up on the world of fantasy. So
Let's
I'm
go,
going to jump
let's go.
right into this training session, sir, and I'm going to let you do the honors. First things here, I focus on a battery mate, a quarterback or a running back.
Right.
From that group, who stands out to you as a buy low value?
Well, look, you took mine, right? So I'm
Did
looking
I?
at the sheet you sent me, and you took mine. I'm not going to take them. I just want to preface it with this. So on the fantasy walkabout with my mate Tom Lee, we always kind of like to give direction and how to get deals done in Dynasty, because generally speaking, people are afraid to deal in Dynasty. You either have the people that are out there slinging their draft picks all over the place. Generally, you miss out on those deals while you're at work or sitting in your cubicle, right? Doing what you do. But you should
Nothing
always
worse
be
than
sending.
after lunch seeing one of those go through and it wasn't you.
I missed out on an AJ Dillon deal someone got done, and I was like, oh man, I would have paid way more for that. But that's where it comes down to. That was my fault for not sending a message to that player, to that manager all the time. You should always be active. Don't wait. Check in on your league mates, everyone, see how they're feeling. That way, when it does come, time to make those deals, a pre-connection has been made. The seed has been planted. So it's very important to constantly stay active and always be lying to your league mates. Look, a buy low quarterback target for me, it's hard because I play Superflex. That's my brand. That's our brand. That's all we really focus on. It's what we have the most fun. So the problem with buy lows at the quarterback position is that if you don't have 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks that can all step in and play, you basically have to staple a Post-it on your forehead that says screw me when it comes to acquiring said quarterback. But luckily, with recent injury news, there is one player in particular that I think you can go out and get, and his name is Carson Wentz. Obviously, early feedback post-injury is that they are on track for playing in week 1. Now, I don't think they're actually going to play in week 1. I think on track is coach speak and narrative speak look, they're getting better. They're getting healthier. Of course, they're on track to do that. That doesn't mean they're going to do that, but a week 4 and a week 5. Now, if you're sitting there going, oh, what can I trade away for a Carson Wentz? Well, you don't even got to throw around a first round pick. It's very likely that you can send away a Michael Gallup and a second round pick, or you can send away like I just mentioned, an AJ Dillon and a second round pick to get that deal done. If they need a quarterback back, well, if you got an aging rostered player, say a Fitzpatrick and a Ben, well, you can send one of those guys with a Gallup or a second. These are deals that I would be completely willing to make. Now, if your opponents are playing hardball, would I put a first overall pick? Look, yes, I would. And here's why. Look, Phillip Rivers was not bad in Indianapolis last season. For the tools he had around him, Phillip Rivers was playable as your second quarterback in Superflex.
Absolutely.
Carson Wentz is at least that good.
Yeah.
And in Superflex, I mean, people were paying first round picks for Cam Newton 2 years ago. Why can't Carson Wentz bounce back on a more stable team? Some weapons there, better offensive line when Nelson is healthy, right? So you're taking a risk with right. So you're taking a chance trading a first round pick, but chances are you're going to end up with Keyshawn Vaughn with that first round pick anyway. You really have to hit with your first, and in Superflex, the quarterback position is paramount. Carson Wentz is a player that I would be willing to send a 23. Well, actually, I really like the 23 class, a 22 first. You can probably get something back with Wentz in that, but if they're really playing hardball, I'd go that way.
I actually agree, because while I took your first choice, that would have been my second choice. I'm really high on Wentz. I mean, in addition to the being reunited with Frank Reich, I think that's just a match made in heaven. And yeah, as far as just the positional value that he holds in Superflex, yeah, I mean, first is without hesitation, to be honest.
Carson Wentz had QB2 games, all but one game he played last season, right? So, yeah, it's getting ticky-tacky with the number 24. This is all pending on your league,
Right.
Format 4 and 6 touchdowns. But, you 23rd, 24, 10, 15, 16, 7, 7, 24, 24, 15, and 6, according to playerprofiler.com. He's more than serviceable, even in a train wreck of an organization that was Philly.
Yeah, I mean,
so
this is about as bad as you're going to see him play, right? So
you would think, you would
his
hope. Oh,
true,
God, you hope.
What feels like to me, that feels like his basement. I mean,
yes,
that's the floor.
You're buying him at his floor, but in Superflex, quarterbacks are kind of king. So yeah, you need to do that.
I mean, there's only room to go but up. I mean, I don't see how acquiring Wentz does anything but ultimately return value, unless that foot proves to be, a long-term problem.
Correct.
But that's the gamble you take. Well, for me, I'd say it's a bit similar. It's a gentleman that has switched teams that the general public is typically down on. He's not a very popular player, thus why he qualifies for the buy low category. Although it does seem I've seen more public optimism surrounding him recently. And that is one Sam Darnold. Now, I will say this is a lot of what I try to do is data-based. This is purely circumstantial with Darnold because there is not a lot in his production so far in the NFL. There's just not a lot of positives you can pull out. You can dig and find some, but ultimately, if you look at most of his numbers, whether they're raw volume, efficiency, what have you, they're average at best and poor in most cases. So now, as he's ranking, let me pull this up real quick. So player profiler in efficiency metrics. So true completion percentage, 35th. Play action completion percentage, 37th. Red zone completion percentage, 62nd. Deep ball completion, 33rd. Pressured completion, 28th. Catchable pass rate, number 43. So again, that's why I'm saying I'm not going to be coming to you with a bunch of numbers here to support this argument. This is really about the situation he's stepping into and the talent he's going to be surrounded with, both on the field and the coaching staff. My number one reason is Joe Brady. The guy is a wizard. I don't know how else to put it. You saw he made Joe Burrow the number one overall pick, and Joe Burrow's a fine player, but it was tank for Tua for 2 years before
you're gonna have the Bengals fans coming at you here pretty quick if you go he's a fine player. Got to be careful with that. They're gonna come for you.
The Bengals have fans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
No, I like Burrow, but point being, he had been underwhelming up to that point. Obviously, there were some situational factors with him at Ohio State, but still, he blew up out of nowhere on Brady's team, or Brady's offense, rather.
Yes.
And Teddy Bridgewater, who has been very, just largely a game manager during his career in the NFL, put together a quietly decent season last year. I mean, much has been talked about the fact that he supported 3 top
fantasy
36
relevant players.
Yeah.
Bridgewater is dog water. He's one of the worst quarterbacks to watch play football in the entire league. And I get that he has a great story. I get it. I do not care. I don't care. He's awful. He almost ended DJ Moore's season against the Vikings, missing him by 10 yards.
True.
And Moore did his best to reach back. He hit the ground. And let me tell you, my mate, Matty B, him and I texted each other at the exact moment, like 10 to 15 seconds apart, all caps, what the actual shit. Like at the same time, boom. Like it made me almost physically ill to watch Teddy Bridgewater play football.
I don't disagree.
That's all I can say.
That's all I can say. We're going to talk about Teddy a little bit more in the next segment, actually. Just very briefly, because it's relevant to something else.
Barf.
But but point being, as far as the numbers go, again, passable, decent season, whatever, despite Teddy not really being a good actual quarterback.
Right.
Now, I think somebody stepping in with much more just raw talent to work with, and Darnold stepping into an offense that has a healthy CMC, has DJ Moore, has Robbie Anderson. Now, he's had Anderson before, but in the hellhole that is the Adam Gase offense. So I'm kind of wiping that clean. So he has 2 legitimately strong receivers and a third, I would say, in Terrace Marshall, who coincidentally coached by Joe Brady at LSU,
Right.
who knows exactly how to use him. And camp highlights, which, take them for what they're worth, have been pretty exciting with Marshall. So it looks like the chemistry is building between Darnold and Marshall.
Right. It's important to listen to camp notes in that you want to hear positive, not negative.
Right.
So when you get a player, the difference being you get a player like Marshall who's having nothing but positive. He's a game breaker. He's such a great talent. Lead to take the third job, the inside job, a coveted job in that offense. And you listen for someone like Chase, who up until just recently had no news. And the news we got is that he doesn't separate, which he didn't separate in college. So that doesn't really matter. But that's 2 key things to listen for when you're looking at camp and how you're going to scout people through coaching narratives, which are generally pretty gross to listen to anyway. Sorry, carry on. I keep interrupting.
No, they really are. And actually, kind of to that point, I tend to actually put a lot more weight on the negative comments only because I feel like just to the media, coaches try to generally shine the positive light. So if they're really coming out and saying, yeah, this guy's really struggling or he needs to step up, that's probably true. That said, you do need to be semi-skeptical with talking up. However, if it's supported with, say, videos of some of these highlights, which try to pay attention to who's covering these people, if anybody, are they making catches against air or are they going up against the top defensive backs on that roster? Just details, I would say. Details.
Sure.
Nuance.
And I like your Darnold pick, and I'll tell you why I've been propping up Sam Darnold a lot. Now, as you were mentioning on Player Profiler, all those horrible statistics that Sam Darnold put up, but here are a few reasons as to why I think it can be better. If I'm not mistaken, he was 6th in accuracy while protected. His protection rate, though, was 37th in the league. Their team passing plays per game for a team that was behind constantly was 28th. His supporting cast efficiency was negative 9.87. That's 29th in the league. When you're throwing to Braxton Berrios, and I love him, but I liked him a lot better in week 16 when he decided to try to be their QB1 at Jamison Crowder. That was it. And, a struggling rookie, Denzel Mims, who's now on the roster bubble, not a whole lot to help you with. And I get it. I understand. Well, they were open and he missed. A lot can be said about confidence, coaching. Everyone knows Gase is bad. He's been the punching bag of the league. He almost tried to ruin Peyton Manning's, final few seasons, even though he really tried. Look, it matters. Coaching matters. You're getting, let's not. He's getting easily the best supporting cast, one of the best supporting casts in all of football. And the line is, but generally speaking, it should be better than New York. Sam Darnold is a player that early when he signed, I was throwing 23 first around trying to get him. And I'd still do it. I'm drafting him and trading for him every possible way.
Yeah, as am I, particularly in Superflex. And I think, I don't think it would take much to get him outside of the more.
Well, and in single quarterback leads, I'm not going near him, right? The Superflex really lets you be lenient on who your second quarter or third quarterback would be, right?
Right.
In Superflex for the first 4 weeks, I'm still probably playing, Ben Roethlisberger over Darnold until I see something. But the hope, especially with Carolina picking up Darnold's option, is that there's hope in the building for the first time in a long time. There's bloody hope in the building for him.
I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to mention that earlier. They picked up his option. Clearly, they do have some optimism and faith in him and expect this to be a success. So
correct. All right.
So now it has team investment. So what to give up for him? For me, I think a lower end RB2 could get it done. I really do. If you find now, assuming who you're trading to is a contender that has him as a quarterback 3. So you could throw a Myles Gaskin in a second or a third, or possibly somebody, if the Darnold owner has rookie fever regarding Trey Sermon, who's very split but extremely those who like him really like him. So that would be an easy one for one. Possibly
interesting. And interesting that you go Sermon there, because I think at the end of the day, someone like Trey Sermon probably has, if he hits. Now, look, I'm on note at FTDP as not being the Trey Sermon guy. Someone like even Gaskin, I mean, he's going to put up, 13, 14 fantasy points per game, likely. If he stays healthy, we get it. If everyone stays healthy, they're going to do well. But he was balling. Those are very high-end value players you're willing to give up for Sam Darnold. I like it.
They are, and again, kind of back to your point that QBs are simply paramount, because he does have the opportunity to ascend to a high-end QB2. I don't think he's probably not going to be a QB1. I guess that's not out of the realm of possibility, but I'd say I expect his ascension to be QB 13, 15 for a stretch of seasons would be
interesting.
Highly reasonable. And that would be
I currently have him finishing I have him finishing at 17 currently myself.
This year, I think I have him probably closer to 17, 18, 19. I would have to pull those up. But as far as he gets more comfortable with this coaching staff, with this group of players, the ones that you expect to be there for another 2-3 years. So that gain in value, I think, would just be something that Gaskin and Sermon don't. Well, Sermon might have the capability, though I'm not a big Sermon guy like you're not. And Gaskin, I certainly don't think has any ability to be able to match that type of value ascension. So that's also a big part of
Interesting.
It's the value that he can gain on top of just liking the player, because I do think he'll be one of the preferred QB2s in short order. So it's not as much of a play for this year, but before he starts to show something this year and it gets too expensive.
Correct.
And as far as, part of the reason I was thinking those guys, because we all hate trade calculators, trade value charts, things like that.
Don't get me started.
But I'm telling you, the people in your leagues are absolutely referring to them. When you shoot them a trade offer over, they have something like that they're probably checking. At least most of it's important to know what they are for. You try to exploit what that says. And to me, that's a chasm.
We talk about, on the Fantasy Walkabout especially, our disliking for trade calculators. But again, once you get into a league, you need to be immediately in draft reaching out to the players in your league and gauging them for how they operate immediately. Hey, how you doing? How you feeling? How do you like to trade out a lot? Like, how do you really view these things? And from there, you can gather the intel you need for post-draft and understand who is and who isn't using that trade calculator. Now, I will say this. I understand that people always need help gauging a deal. Not everyone has their own ranks. Not everyone has their own how could I say it? Not everyone has their own structure, their own projections, value charts. There are reasons why these things exist. We at the Fantasy Walkabout believe so strongly in having your own set of tiers. Being able to tier-based draft gives you an edge on completing trades involving trade calculators. Because even though that trade calculator might tell them that this player has a value of 32, well, if they're not willing to let go of that player, maybe there's another player on their roster that's in that same tier that the trade calculator says is a 15 or a 14. Now you can target that player and still give up the same things you were trying to the first time. Tier-based trading is the way to go, and it's not close, in my opinion.
Yeah, Tom. Absolutely.
That's right. That's my mate Tom Lee. Tom_Lee 92 on the Bird app, pitching in, not being afraid of doing the legwork. I know it can be tedious, but you have to if you want to get the edge in the boardroom and in your DMs.
That's an irresistible sales pitch.
Because if you're sending blind trade offers without DMs first, you're already behind. Chances are, if you send me a trade offer with no warning and I don't like it, I'm not only hitting like reject really quickly, I might let it sit there for 4 days I'm going to see it and I'm just going to let it sit for 4 days because it irks me.
I tend to agree. I like to have that discussion, negotiation, because blind offers that ultimately you end up at that point where somebody offers you just their entire bench and like a bunch of fifths for AJ Brown.
I'll give you an example.
I'll
give you an example.
Communication.
So Big Billy FF is another one of the co-hosts on the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. I'm going to be doing a lot of pitching. So at the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast, Big Billy FF, he is notorious in the group for sending hilarious starting offers. They are deliberately bad, but he will always send you a message like, hey, sent a starter. It's meant to get some conversation going. It's literally just a hilarious opener. If you send something like that, like if you're sending me N'Keal Harry and a 3rd round pick for my Sam Darnold and you don't send me a message saying like, hey, this is an opener, or hey, at least sent you something to get things rolling, then I'm just immediately not going to want to talk to you for a couple of weeks. Like immediately.
This guy's an asshole.
And you're alienating yourself. Even if they're not intending to, they're alienating themselves from getting a deal done. Big no-no.
Like most things in life, communication is key. Just communicate. It's really not that hard. And I agree fully, but I often see a lot of talk about, don't DM me when it comes to trade. Either I'll accept or deny it, or accept or reject.
Everyone has their own way.
That mentality, but
everyone has their own way. Look, I've done deals.
Just
a lot of fantasy managers have done deals. That's where I was going to get to. Everyone has done deals. So FF_RTDB, lead analyst over there, Roto Underworld, co-host of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. Him and I have done deals that have taken 6 hours to negotiate. 6 straight hours, sometimes leading till 3, 4 in the morning because we're sociopaths. And I, like to test my wife's patience. Whereas we've also done deals where he literally has just sent me one for one, boom, and that deal is done in 30 seconds with no messages. They can both be done. It depends on how well you know your league mates and how spot on those offers are.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. All right, so next group, pass catchers. Wide receivers, tight ends. Who you got for your preference here in the pass-catching world of the NFL?
Look, we like to say something about wide receivers because we always hear about, just toss in a wide receiver 3. Just toss in a wide receiver 3. Look, wide receiver 3s are a myth. They're not real. They're not actually real people because the idea of them, there are 672,451 potential wide receiver 3s every week. I don't give a shit. I don't care. There's one like wide receiver 3 right now. And I'm not talking about rookies because look, they have upside. I also hate the word upside. You slap upside onto every player because you're afraid to be wrong. Okay. It's not that there's some game breaking possibility. If they're like every week, it's just that if they do go off, you don't want to be the guy that's wrong. So you'll be like, I think he's a wide receiver 3, but he has that high wide receiver 2 upside. We get it. Not every player actually has that. But there is a player that does, and his name is Michael freaking Gallup. And I know that he's a popular player. Everyone loves him. You either love Michael Gallup or you hate Michael Gallup. But look, all you hear about Michael Gallup is camp, training camp, big hot news, big player, 1,000 yards, or at least pretty damn close to it a couple of years ago. Obviously, you're not going to do it with Ben DiNucci as much as me and my people from the homeland really wanted to get behind DiNucci since Flacco's now a backup. We had to have the next Italian superstar. He was not that. And also, if you at me about Flacco not being a superstar, I'm already blocking you. So don't even. The guy's a stud. Threw a touchdown. Watkins today. Unbelievable. Don't care that it was a screen. Gallup is a player that the person that has them, like tends to have them in your dynasty league, loves him, doesn't want to let him go. Gallup is the one wide receiver 3, not being a rookie, that I'm willing to shell out a second round pick and a little bit more for. Wow. He is that guy. I'm willing to go De'Ami Brown plus for a guy like Michael Gallup. I'm willing to go second round pick and I don't know, Melvin Gordon for Michael Gallup. They're not going to bring him back. It's very rare that I will say that you can copy and paste a player's production on another team and get results. Gallup is that guy that could easily be that wide receiver 16 to 24 weekly on another roster outside of Dallas. I know, Maddie. This is the same Maddie B that yelled at me about DJ Moore almost having no knees left with Bridgewater. That's him. We love Gallup. Look, he's a player that you should be going and acquiring because once he leaves Dallas and he gets paid, and he will get paid, you can mark the date 21/08/12. Michael Gallup is going to get paid to be a producer on another NFL roster. So paying that second round pick plus now, or De'Ami Brown plus now, is going to pay off for you later when his ADP is rising. Go and do that now if you haven't already. Pry him away before the snaps start, because once the snaps start, you're not getting him. It's not going to happen. He's going for 1,000 yards this year. There's going to be 3,000-yard receivers in Dallas.
Really?
Oh, there's no way they don't, right? So their defense is dog water.
Yeah.
He's already done it. And with Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup with Dak back, oh my Lord. There's no tight end that I care about in Dallas now that they're splitting. He's just going to be a deep ball hog. He's going to be unreal. Easily, possibly either 975, 1,100, easily doable for Michael Gallup in 2021. And you're not going to get that value for much cheaper, especially when he goes off for, a 2-tutty game. Because remember, Dak was on pace to smash QB1.
Sure.
Smash QB1 last year. And and Gallup still balled out in weeks last season with Dalton and Danucci. So trust. Send those trade offers out for Michael Gallup today. Whenever you're listening to this, go and do it. If you went back in time, I told you so.
Interesting. I mean, I'm high on him dynasty-wise as well, but I don't think I'm nearly where you are for 2021. So, yeah, I guess get that done pre-season.
If you're not in for 2021, you're gonna miss out in 2022, or you might as well sit out for 2022. Because if you're not in now, it means you don't. If he doesn't ball out in 2021, the chance of him balling out in 2022 are slim to zero, right? So you have to be in now, and because it's a second round pick, remember 2019 spoiled us with the Claypools and the T. Higgins and sometimes Justin Jefferson. Players went late that did. Jalen Hurts right now, if you were good enough to pick him up in the third, oh my gosh, what an absolute smash. Even now, Mac Jones was a second round pick. Absolute smash by right now. Justin super flex value, period. The chance of you hitting on a second round pick are probably lower than 14%. Honestly, if you're being honest with yourself, no one's process is 100%.
No.
Go and get that player that has shown up and showed out. And that's Michael Gallup when you're talking about receivers.
All right. I may need to take another look at how I evaluate him for this year. But
I'm here to sway opinions, baby. This is what I'm doing.
But as far as saying, how can you be in on him for next year if you're not in on him for this year? It's not that I'm necessarily not in on him for this year. I'm just not to like 1,000-yard season level. I mean, to me, a 700-yard, 6-touchdown season would be outstanding and still would set him up for the exact situation we're projecting in the offseason, him getting paid and a much more prominent role on another team.
If he does not show that he is capable of not only winning, but winning continuously, he will not get paid the amount that he will need to be fantasy relevant. I mean, in 2020, he had 843 yards on 59 receptions and 105 targets with garbage tossing him the ball. The year before that, 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. This man has already done it in that offense. That's why I'm saying 1,000 yards, even with the other two ballers, it's got to be a damn near a lock, even a smash. Because again, they're going to be down points, and you can only run the ball on a negative game script with Ezekiel Elliott so much. They got to let Dak sling it. They have to.
Yeah, they won't have a choice there. That's true. That is true.
Exactly. That's why I say he's the only wide receiver 3 I really give a shit about right now.
Well,
I'm going to turn you by the end of the day. You're going to be all on Michael Gallup.
The wheel spinning as I'm about to go into my guy. Now I can't stop thinking about Gallup.
That's right. Now you're going to be distracted. I've messed your flow.
Well, then, probably a guy you're out on, at least for now, given your lack of interest in the mythical wide receiver 3. My guy's Jerry Jeudy. Although I don't look at him as a wide receiver 3. I look at him as a wide receiver 2.
Right. I'm more talking about, say, a dynasty wide receiver 3, not a wide receiver 3 finish. I'll clarify that.
Gotcha. And then, yes, then that's a great way to put it. Yeah, they really don't exist. That's a rotating cast of, aging veterans there than at wide receiver 3.
Right, that's why I don't care. You got to have a path to being a 1. If you don't have at least any path of being a high 2 or a 1, I don't care about you anyway.
Yeah. It's a great way to look at it. So,
hit me with some Jerry Jeudy knowledge here, though.
So this was my...
Because, again, it's a team with Teddy Bridgewater, and I've talked about how I feel about him. So...
Well, I wrote my debut article for The Collective. It was all about buying Jerry Jeudy. This was back in June, beginning of June. And I'm sticking to those guns.
You gotta stick to your guns sometimes.
Sometimes. Don't be absurd in your take lock, but there's nothing here that's changed other than maybe it, unfortunately, seems that it might be a little more likely that we're going to see a little more Teddy than I thought at the beginning of June. I still think that would be foolish. So, I'm going to start right there. I still think we're going to see more Lock than Teddy. And here's why. The division they play in, they have to have that ceiling play. If you want to look at... they both suck. I'm just going to say that right now. So whatever. But if you're going to look at Teddy as an improvement like some do, we don't. It's because he's a safer game manager. Lock makes a lot of mistakes.
We call him Teddy Too Scared in my circles.
Yes. And I'm gonna go Drew YOLO Lock.
Okay.
And that right there plays well into the big play ability that Jeudy has. I mean, he's going to take those shots and give Jeudy the shot to keep producing in big ways. And now, even if it ends up that we see Teddy a good chunk of games, I don't necessarily think even that's bad for Jeudy. Why? He is going to be a little more accurate. He's not going to take as many shots, but he's going to at least get the ball in his hands. And Jeudy has the route running and separation ability to catch those balls and at least add, respectable yards after most catches, where Teddy theoretically can place it if he doesn't get his knees taken out the way he tried to do to DJ Moore. So I think regardless of QB, it's going to work out fine for him. I do think it's much higher upside with Lock there. I think that's what team situation is going to dictate, that Teddy is not beating Kansas City. Teddy is not beating Oakland. Teddy is not beating Las Vegas. Teddy is not beating Los Angeles. I mean, Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes are going to walk all over these teams.
Right.
So you have to have the guy who can at least give you the shot to put up those points. He might throw 4 picks in one of those games, maybe even 2 of them, but he's going to keep you in the other 2.
He's going to throw a lot of them.
Yes. And you mentioned Melvin Gordon earlier. We've got an aging running back there. They're going to bring Javonte on, who will ultimately take the role, but that's going to be a slow burn, in my opinion. So
one of my hottest takes is that Javonte Williams will be the highest scoring rookie running back on this season. Not Najee, not Etienne, and not the god Trey Sermon. So you can lock that in.
Yeah, I'm going to check back with you at the end of the year. I do not agree.
That's fine. It's all G. Look, you don't trade up for a running back who's got a heck of a production profile in college, fighting off another capable back in Michael Carter and not put him in the game, much like LA did with Akers after the bye week. After the bye week in Denver, I expect Javonte to definitely be getting a 65-35 touch share compared to old man overrated Gordon.
When is their bye week?
I have no idea.
Because if it's on the later part of the season, I mean, I tend to agree. In the second half of the year, let's see, week 11. All right, so yeah, that's probably about right. But I don't think that's going to put them in position to be able to be. If
their bye week is that late, it will be much sooner. Trust, big trust.
I'm also really high on ETN, so
yeah, that's fine. ETN's very good.
I thought my hot take was just ETN over Harris, so you going even Javonte over Harris.
Oh, I think Harris is gonna struggle. Ugh, I really do. The team's so freaking bad.
It bums me out because I like Harris as a guy, as an individual. I want to root for him so bad. I'm from the Bay Area. He's from Antioch, Northern California. I mean, he's just the best kid. And I want him to succeed so badly. And Herms is my boy. And he loves Najee and the Steelers. And I want Herms to be happy. But I don't think that's all the way in the cards this year. I think he's going to be good, solid. He's still going to be a guy, you wouldn't be upset to have on your team, but not where he's being drafted. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that situation. I'm going to go back to Jerry Jeudy here. I mean, he had a really strong rookie year, which for some reason is looked at negatively by some. But I mean, the guy had 856 yards.
We got spoiled. That's why.
Yeah, because he wasn't Justin Jefferson. I mean, my God.
Right.
He had 71 of his 113 targets were catchable. 71 out of 130. So, I mean, what was it? I think 62, 63%. I don't still have the profiler page up, but it was 115th in the league. He had 965 unrealized air yards, which I know is
hokey.
But what it does say is they were taking deep shots with him. They were trying to make big plays with Jeudy. And with Sutton back, I think that's positive because he's going to be facing lesser coverage.
Right.
Top cornerbacks are now going to be facing Sutton, taking that attention away. Jeudy will have that second year improvement on top of aggressive play targeted towards him. Everything seems to set up that way for him to be successful this year. And obviously his growth as a player, as he goes through his career, I expect him to only continue to improve and be one of the best receivers in the league as he was projected to be coming out of Alabama.
Look, here's why I kind of don't like Jeudy at his costs. Look, the Denver defense, they're going to be better than people are wanting to give them credit for. Obviously, don't totally know what's happening with Von Miller. It very much looks like he's going to play after the original offseason drama. They are going to be down a lot, but I really have a feeling it's going to be one of those situations where you're going to be disappointed in the pass catchers in Denver. Just simply because how Big Billy with Jerry Jeudy, he does love him. Just simply because they're going to be down, but not down enough to give you those real Ryan Fitzpatrick led garbage time drives, right? You call them Drew Yolo lock or, you can call him DGAF lock, but I don't think they're not going to be behind enough unless he goes full Winston and puts his team in a situation where they're going to be down 21 points.
Because if they do that, then we're just going to see Teddy even sooner.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for a player like Jeudy, Teddy Bridgewater might be better for him because Jeudy just needs an accurate quarterback to put it near him. He has to, and he hasn't gotten it. I'd like a player like Gallup more at cost. So you say when you're talking about acquiring a player like Jerry Jeudy, correct?
Yeah.
The person that has Jerry Jeudy is probably going to hold on to him. Like, you're really going to have to prime away because they probably paid that rookie, 106?
Yeah, 6, 7,
107,
most likely. Yeah.
108-ish. And they don't want to take the L when there's no real reason to take. You got to be real swift when you're coming in on that negotiation. You're probably going to have to give up like a cup and a pick, right? If they're a contender, which everyone should think they're a contender, right? That's really expensive in startup ADP to acquire a guy that you're getting only 2 rounds later. It's an expensive get, but if you believe that Jerry Jeudy is that guy, that's where we talk about being okay with the quote unquote overpay, or not feeling gross about it, if you would, or people being afraid to make that move if they're not all the way in. So you gotta be all the way in.
Well, I'm all the way in.
I'd love to hear it.
I do. Well, you do have a good point. Most Jeudy owners are going to have spent a mid-first on him most likely and not willing to tank that just yet. That
Correct.
said, we're still in a season here where a lot of the guys that were picked in the first and early second of these last rookie drafts are receiving a lot of hype here in camp, and I think you might be able to move one of those guys for a Jerry Jeudy.
Interesting.
And that's something I would do for some of these. I wouldn't necessarily look at future picks because, yeah, if you're looking at some current players, yeah, you might have to do Cup in a second or something like that.
So interesting. So you mean you're looking to move somebody, say, like Camp Darling, Elijah Moore, Camp Darling, Rondale Moore. Now, if you say Rashad Bateman, you and I are going to have problems.
No, I would.
But that's okay, right? But I mean, you're looking at the Michael Carters that climbed up the boards. You're looking at the, again, aforementioned Trey Sermon that climbed up the boards. You're saying you're more willing to move one of them and a kicker because you're going to need, and I don't mean a kicker. I don't mean Justin Tucker. All right. First off, if you have him, you should never trade Justin Tucker anyway. Salut to the people that use kickers in the league. Shout out, Linda. Huge shout out. The kicker goddess, if you would. But you're going to need to add that little bit extra, obviously probably quite a bit extra anyway, and the cost is too great for me. You are going to have to pitch me on the cost. So, it's I like hearing the take. I like being able to disagree on one. I think it's important.
It is.
But I will let you continue to sell me.
No, I really think we're still, like you said, these Camp Darlings. I don't think that same overall optimism necessarily is still surrounding Jeudy, at least just not in a big way. There's not a lot of noise. So I think he's just a little under the radar. Now, I know we're talking buy lows here, and I have him here in that buy low category. Now, should qualify it that he's not a real buy low. When I say buy low,
right,
I'm saying you're buying him as low as he's ever going to be. This is a guy that's going to be multiple first at starting point starting next season, as far as I'm concerned. So, and I think your cheapest route is to try to use one of these rookies. That's why I say that. So yes, I mean, if you can get away with Carter or Sermon and a little bit of juice to finish that off, that's I would applaud you for days. Now it would probably more likely take, say, an Elijah Moore, if a Jalen Waddle, depending on
Oh my gosh! All right. That's one I can get behind if you're trading away Jalen Waddle, because that was one of the woofiest picks in the draft this season. Oh my lord, not great. It's not a big riser in the FTDP boardroom, if you would. Yikes! I know Matt Donnelly loved him some Jalen Waddle, so
I like
that's at the Dynasty Vipers.
I don't like the spot, and I don't like.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
I don't really mind his style. I mean, but I'm not sure I'm just not sure about the Miami offense, period, I guess.
Fair. Yeah. No, that's fair.
So,
I mean, if you want to talk about another buy low receiver, I mean, Billy Needles, Will Fuller, that's the guy for me. Jerry Jeudy projected for a late projected 22 first, I'm okay with. I agree.
Oh, well,
I mean, somebody might take that. It's
Probably
tough.
not.
You're probably going to need to add a little more. You're probably going to need to add like a Corey Davis or another one of the 672,451 wide receiver threes. So
any of those wide receiver threes in the first next year, I would do every day, twice on Sunday.
Sure. Okay, I can dig that. I can vibe that. But like I said, if if you want to talk about the Miami offense,
so
if you want the buy low with Billy Needles, the guy was balling last season when he was in. He balls every time he's playing, and hopefully it wasn't the PEDs holding his hamstrings together. We can all hope and pray for that. And if it was, please, NFL, let Billy Needles take those PEDs, because as RTDB would say, Jacob, the league is better when Billy Needles is balling out. And you can get him dirt cheap.
Yeah, you can.
That's the type of player you go and get and you slap on your bench. So there's a bonus buy low. Go to the Billy Needles owner and go see what it would take, because he's better off on your bench than theirs.
Yeah.
I
still find myself scared off by the health, man. I still do.
Everyone's injury prone,
I can't get him for free. I mean, if he's my wide receiver 6 in a draft, I mean, I'll take him. But it's hard for me to go out and buy him. It just is.
No, I understand that. I totally get that.
I've been burned by Fuller too many times, and when I finally decided never again, he 12, 13 games that he was able to play last year, and just was fantastic.
A 1. Oh my gosh.
And it was consistent too. It wasn't like he was boosted by 2 40-point weeks. I mean, he was
the one
every week. I mean,
yep. God. He was the one. Cooks was the 2. It was something to see.
So you have a point, but I do have a concern that it was helped along a little by the PEDs. I've been thinking that ever since the suspension, and I hope I'm wrong. I don't have a leg to stand on. It's just a suspicion. That's all. That's all.
Fair.
But let him do it. Clearly, he needs it. He needs help.
Hey,
he can't stay healthy. These are
cheating.
Medical.
Jacob's pro cheating in sports, and he's starting to win me over on those arguments. He's a very smart guy.
Amateurism. This isn't high school, college. These are professional athletes, millions and millions of dollars on the line, legacies on the line. The stakes are as high as they could possibly be in the sports world, worldwide, outside of maybe World Cup soccer. I mean, that might be the only, legitimately, might be the only thing that, and you see how, I mean, FIFA is the most corrupt organization on earth, possibly. So, I mean, that right there. So, I am.
That's true.
The old phrase, you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, very much rings true in the NFL.
In sport, period, for sure.
Very much in sports.
What do we got, mate? What do we got?
So what I was trying to pull up here as we just kind of section out here of our player suggestions, because I don't have the bonus buy low for you, but I actually do have a bonus question for you.
Hit me.
You have a wrestling background, as I came to learn about you this summer, and as your garb attributes to. So
this isn't just because I'm a diehard MyChem fan. This is actually my ring jacket for wrestling. I mean, we commit to it pretty hard. Yeah, it's a little double hitter.
As any great performer would. So I don't think I ever even asked you the most basic, simple question on this matter in all of our group chat messages.
Okay.
Who is your favorite wrestler of all time? I don't know why I've never asked that, but I need to know.
Look, so my favorite wrestler growing up of all time, it was easily The Rock. And I know it's a cop-out answer. I'll give you a couple. Okay. No, I'll give you a couple. The Rock, so it was actually funny to me. I was watching tape back, learning from all of my mistakes in the ring. and I noticed my kicks and my punches looked very familiar, and I couldn't figure it out. And my brother Leo London pointed it out, and he goes, you kick like The Rock now. And I was doing the leg shake before I dropped the boot. I was like, oh my God, I do. And so now I'm conscious about it, but I deliberately go out there and do it. Other than that, look, my second favorite wrestler of all time, his name is Colt Cabana. Currently employed by AEW. If you played the wrestling games in the 2000s, he was the generic guy that you were hitting all your moves on. He was in the WWE for a little while, kind of in a racial stereotyped gimmick, which is super popular with Vince McMahon. Yeah. But Colt Cabana, who I've met and wrestled multiple times, he is a stand-up class act individual, just a fantastic worker. And then it's Kurt Angle and Fit Finley. Really? Are my top four, very much rounded out. Fit Finley. I model a lot of my grappling styles and techniques. He's a tactician in the ring, very old school type of guy that when someone there's a story of him being in Belfast and someone told him that wrestling was fake, so he told the guy to grab his hand, or he told the guy to reach his finger out, and Fit Finley snapped his finger and dislocated. He goes, "Was that fake?" And he's that kind of guy, and I loved that. I loved his personality, and he was an absolute professional. Wish he got a better run in the WWF for sure. So if I had to go top four, it's very much The Rock, Colt Cabana, Kurt Angle, Fit Finley. I don't have to talk about Kurt Angle. The guy's just an absolute legend with everything he does. Yep. There you go.
Speaks for him. I was never the biggest Angle fan. I mean, again, not much really needs to be said. I mean, he's accomplished, but you need to accomplish. But
he is from everything from his Olympic background, because I did Greco-Roman wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Coming up, I was a fan of his, and then seeing him in, being one of the fastest risers in the WWF and being able to bring on the up and comers and help everyone out. That's a big thing of what I am about, is helping others and helping people move forward and grow in communities and whatnot. I get a lot of that. Kurt Angle brought in guys like John Cena and let him knock him around for a bit. And he put over, Baron Corbin in his retirement match. Right. People were upset by that, but it really shows what kind of professional he was. And
that's true.
I've been lucky enough to tour with some quote unquote legends. And I always ask them about Kurt Angle when I can. And they all say the same thing. Just an absolute pro in there. And I love him to death. So yeah, top four, easily Rock, Colt Cabana, Kurt Angle, Fit Finley.
All right. Love it.
Bunch of badasses.
I never even had to go with the follow-up question for anybody that is our age, which is Stone Cold versus Rock. Obviously, you're a Rock guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those matches are fun, man. They're fun because when you become a worker, you start to notice things, right? And going back and watching those matches, you really pick up the little nuances that made them so great. They were having fun out there for sure.
So obviously, not having that background myself, I'm not going to pick up on that nuance. But to your point, the A&E, maybe 2 months ago or so, maybe 3 months, they did a little series of their biographies on some of the old WWF stars. First one was about Stone Cold, or at least first one this season, whatever. And he really got into that and their friendship and what they were doing in the ring and how he was kind of working on the.
Well, and they helped build the WWF through the Monday Night Wars. It was The Rock, it was Austin, it was Taker, but it was, at the end of the day, you wanted to see The Rock come out and, ruin careers with one promo. I mean, The Rock ruined Billy Gunn's career in one promo.
Oh, I hate Billy Gunn.
It was the famous My Name is Billy promo, which you can find on YouTube, is some of the best stuff that you'll see in the world of wrestling. And it killed Billy Gunn's push. Even after he won King of the Ring, it's so phenomenal. Just stopped it dead. Hard halt. You get nowhere further. You're done. It is just fantastic.
I mean, who is better than The Rock on the mic, really?
So
Not
few.
many. All right. Well, good. I just wanted to get that question out of the way. So before we, it's important, the people need to know, the hard hitting questions. And that's
The
that.
people. That's right.
The people. All 0 people that are watching us live. But for
the
tens
millions
of people that are going to
and
listen to the
millions
podcast
of people around the world.
one day. Now they're not gonna listen to this episode when it's current, like I said,
Oh,
tens of people, but
hey,
they are gonna listen to. They're gonna go back. When
I
they're
gave
on
them the opportunity to go back in time
You-
and realize
did.
their
You
mistakes
already
on
did.
Michael Gallup.
See, and that shows how ahead of your time you are, even in the same evening. All right, well, enough fucking around. So just to kind of tie this off, sometimes this time of year sucks because I do like to discuss headlines around the league, and for this got to be the 3rd episode in a row now, it's just more injuries to notable players. Particularly this week seems to have been quite unkind to rookies.
Right.
Bateman went down. Elijah Moore went down today.
Look, you're getting in the part of the season where rookies are learning what it's like to train and practice in an NFL environment, and it's a little bit more rigorous. So the soft tissue stuff, though it sucks, it is going to happen. It's like a lot of the vets last year that didn't get preseason were really affected. We saw more hamstrings and quad pulls and groin strains. Even still, remember David Montgomery, the big panic was that he wasn't going to play. He's going to be out, 4 weeks, and then he showed up week 1.
The way he went down in that video last year, though, I mean,
right, and that's why video scouting is deceptive when you don't know what's happening. Anyone can post a video, and gosh, I think it was AJ Brown that came to the defense of Reynolds when somebody said Reynolds doesn't look explosive here, and AJ Brown tore into that person, telling you that they need to show some respect. You don't know what these players are working on. We don't know the situation. Playing ball for as long as I did, which is 7 years, 8 years, sometimes injuries in the moment look worse than they are. You cannot gauge it off of a video, especially when 92% of the people on the Bird app don't know what the hell they're watching in the first place, right? You obviously have people like Ray GQ who are out there that lived it at a high level. Those are the people who I'm taking their advice on video, not right. Even someone like myself. I don't know what I'm watching, right? To that degree. Don't overreact to training camp videos. Remember that Justin Jefferson got hurt and everyone thought he broke his collarbone based on the video. No, he's already back. He's already in practice. He's fine. He's going to be fine. As dynasty managers, it is so important not to overreact to what you are watching in these videos. You see DBs getting mossed by backup tight ends, and all of a sudden all your waiver wires are full of Hunter Longs and right. And it's, well, he mossed him. All that DB sucks. Hunter Long to the moon. It's not that. Maybe they were working on that drill. Maybe that DB is supposed to be in that position. Maybe they're supposed to lay it up for him because they're working on something, right? We always talk about, big news companies spinning stories. It's just as easy for training camp media to spin stories on players based on a video. You got to be careful. And if you're overreacting, there are fantasy managers in your leagues like myself who are going to take advantage of you for it. So be mindful. Even though there's not a ton of news itself, there's always something to be aware of when it comes to training camp and preseason. If you're not careful,
Jefferson, I shot out after
that. Exactly, you have to.
Every league that I don't have him in, offer was
sent. And if you're not, if you're one of those people that are overreacting to training camp preseason, you're gonna get Darwin Thompson, and it's not a fun feeling. Remember that. Your hopes and dreams are gonna be crushed into the ground when you go after those Darwin Thompsons. Unless they hit, in which case you victory lap for the 1 in 50 that are going to hit. And you never stop victory lapping.
Just go buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
You're on a hot streak.
Correct.
So yeah, we've seen some of those guys go down. In more positive news, gosh, well, I guess like you mentioned earlier, as far as positive injury news, Wentz and Nelson, according to the coaching staff, are trending
Right.
towards week one.
Right.
We don't think they'll be there actually week one. I'm thinking probably 2 or 3. Ultimately, though, not only good for them, good for Jonathan Taylor, whose stock had been falling, not so much in the dynasty world, but it was particularly for this year.
I did not care.
Why would you?
I did not care. Redraft. I don't care. Ballers are gonna ball. If you're worried about one thing, like it's just you might as well be too scared to do anything. Honestly,
there were people that had a little window of just putting together filthy running back combos, adding Jonathan Taylor to their shoot. In some cases, I saw him going in the late second. There were people out there with Dalvin Cook and Jonathan Taylor in a redraft league. Like what?
Yep, 100%, man. I couldn't have said it better myself for sure.
So at least there's some positive news out there. Some guys are coming back. But outside of that, we got the 2 preseason games going on tonight. They were pretty unentertaining. Mac Jones didn't look horrible.
There were important things to take. I can just do a quick rundown. I mean, me and the boys are already preparing. As we don't have a Full Tilt Dynasty podcast this week, we're taking a break. We do take game notes, and we like to keep track of it. Obviously, there's the Quez hype. That was fantastic. Jarrett Patterson making good plays out there. I mean, Joe Flacco's a god, so of course he threw a touchdown pass. Heineke looks good. I think he looked better than Fitzpatrick. Najee is going to have a tough time because he's going to end up with 300 total carries, including all the holding penalties they're going to have in Pittsburgh this year. Deontay Johnson makes, every yard after the catch look way harder than it has to be. He's so bad after the catch. He's going to be pure PPR spam. The guy in that offense for me is Chase Claypool. Kind of going to sum it up right there. Jalen Hurts looked more than capable as a baller, as a quarterback. Zach Ertz showed some signs of life, which was good to see. He was a main target there in Hurts' first drive or two. So definitely some positives from tonight's preseason action.
That's good. I didn't catch any of Eagles Steelers, so it's good to get a little.
Well, I'm a lunatic, and I got the 3 monitors going at all times. So I got one on each side. They're always going. I'm taking my notes in between.
I've got my.
I am a sociopath.
Not the TV on, unfortunately. That's what I should have.
No. Yeah. Well, currently in my vicinity, I've got 5 screens. If I really want to dive into it.
Command Central.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I had to build myself one in my house. The one screen wasn't doing it for me,
No, it doesn't. I can't even just sit and watch football on Sundays with the one screen. I mean, we have 3 up usually.
Yeah,
I have a second TV and bring out to the living room just for that, and then we'll even put up a laptop just to have something else going.
I have to. Yep.
Red Zone on one of the TVs, and then 2 standalone games. There's too much to pay attention to.
Correct.
It's almost like Sunday's a job at this point, just because I don't want to miss anything. But this was awesome, man. Thank you for coming into the boardroom. This is
anytime.
Killer. And like I mentioned again earlier, we're Scott Fishbowl opponents, but I gotta say, as we went through the draft in our division chat, which is how obviously we got to know each other a little bit and create this relationship. Just
correct.
Awesome.
That's what it's all about.
MCR division. It's a really awesome group of dudes.
It was fantastic, especially for my first Scott Fishbowl.
Same,
I mean, I never expected to play Scott Fishbowl, so when I got the invite, I wasn't sure what to expect, and very happy with it.
It's exceeded any expectations I had. I don't even know what they were, but I do know that the experience thus far is certainly better than whatever I could have imagined. I mean, I had heard there were some chats, your pick chat, your division chat, whatever.
Yes.
But really, I mean, there are a lot of really cool, thoughtful, engaging, smart, and helpful people. Hell,
yep.
Once we were kind of away from the heart of actual draft time, even in our group, there's a lot of discussion and
Still
strategic
going.
talk that's going on, and we're still talking.
Absolutely. Yep. Great group of people over there for sure.
So I really do look forward to participating in the tournament as a whole for obvious reasons, but particularly against this division, as we've all gotten to, become a close division. And it is going to be stiff competition. I think our group had a lot of sharp drafters. I mean,
Derek Brown. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude, Team Pro just. I guess it's not really a snipe when it's half a round away, but damn, dude, just earlier that
you got to be ahead.
Time.
Yeah, you got to be ahead. You can't be late. Can't be late in the Scott Fishbowl. No.
I mean, I just can't feel like I'm reaching every round, but I guess that's what it would have taken. Although I'm still pretty happy with how my team turned out, and I think most of our group is. I don't think anybody really. Well, I mean,
anytime you get Lamar Jackson on your roster, you're gonna have a good time. I mean, I just got to say that.
No, I'm pumped. That's why I was pissed that Derek Brown took Bateman, I think, in the early 8th, where as at the time of our draft, talk about being ahead. He was ahead because he was going nowhere near 8.2, 8.3, whatever the hell his pick was in early July.
Look, I got to tell you, I'm happy with my Mac Jones pick. I just got to say that. He looked good. If he gets in there, he's going to be one of those efficient players for sure. Oh, speaking of, I drafted Michael Gallup in the old Scott Fishbowl. So, hey, sticking
Michael
to my
Gallup,
process.
Jamar, no separation Chase.
Jamar going to be good anyway, Chase.
Yeah, he is. You already said it. He didn't separate in college. That's not
correct.
So who cares? That's the most non-story of all time. I really like your team a lot. Again,
well, we'll see. Well, I don't know how it's going to go. We're going to see how it goes.
There are a lot of ways things can go, but you have a couple of players on here that I'm particularly high on, and I think are going to serve you very well.
I can only hope.
We'll see. But yeah, before we get out of here, I mean, I know you've kind of made your plugs a little bit as we've gone along, but do you have any final things you want to say? I mean, in regards to walkabout.
I'm the master of the plug.
Well, plug, plug. This is corporate anyways. Fantasy Boardroom. This is what we do.
If you liked what I had to say in the show, well, you can definitely let me know. If you disliked what you heard on the show, well, guess what? Definitely go out of your way to let me know. Look, it may not be me getting back to you. It might be Patrick, the HR alpaca, who's a little bit off screen, but he'll be handling your DMs, questions, comments, and concerns. You can generally catch me every Friday in the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast with my host, Big Billy FF and FF_RTDB. You know him as Jacob Sanderson, the wide receiver 3 whisperer. Look, the guy is money. You can also catch me on Tuesday nights, generally speaking, the fantasy walkabout with my mate who's all the way around the world in Australia. That's Tom_Lee92. If you're not following him, you definitely should be. You can see all of my work over there with the Fantasy Intervention and Dynasty Vipers Network. You can catch all the videos of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast over there at the Dynasty Vipers Network and the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast YouTube page. You can also, and I encourage you to go and check out fulltiltdynasty.com, which is a fully functioning website, form included, to get in on all of those trade conversations and catch exclusive content from mates like Jacob, lead analysts over there, Roto Underworld, Billy, Big Billy FF over there, programming for Dynasty Nerds, and Tom_Lee just releasing his first ever fantasy football blog that is exclusive on the fulltiltdynasty.com. And I gotta say, even though we ran into some problems yesterday, thanks to Mother Nature herself trying to get in the way of making the show happen, we got it done anyway. Couldn't have been happier to say that I did it, and I look forward to facing off with you in the Scott Fishbowl. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. No, I really thank you for still making the time today, despite yesterday's events. Nothing we can do. And goddamn, that was a really good plug. I need to just talk to you off camera. I need some training here. I need to work on it. I know you've got
pro wrestling, and
you've got the wrestling. Yeah, exactly.
Pro wrestling. I'm used to this microphone. You gotta pitch yourself in the wrestling biz, kid.
I need some video of you on the mic. Then you've sent some of your actual wrestling, but we need some mic video. We need some some promo cuts.
I think I got a few. I'm gonna get some for you. Believe that.
And before we get out of here, I'm actually gonna do one plug myself. And that is for the Fantasy Collective. We have officially, at our first partnership, we have partnered with prizepicks.com, which is now the most exciting way to play DFS. You're using your DFS skills to predict whether you selected DFS player will perform above or below their projected fantasy points. Very easy over-under selections. Rather than worry about GPPs or even smaller pool entries in your DraftKings and FanDuel's lineups, any traditional daily format, you're simply rooting for against the player that you chose the over-under on. It's much like your own team. So when you have your 2, 3, or 4 players that you're very confident are going to overperform or underperform the number there on prizepicks.com, smash them. If you get all 4, you will 10 times your money. Again, you don't have to beat out millions of other people. You just pick the overs, unders. You go from there. It's just a small over-under parlay with great payouts. So please go to prizepicks.com, use code collective, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. And that's collective, KOLLECTIV. Yeah. All these daily sites that do 25, PrizePicks will match the first deposit up to 100. So go there, put in 100, get 200 in your account, have a fun season, use code collective.
I love it. Please
Thanks again,
play
Thomas.
responsibly.
Kind of responsibly. No, yeah, keep it responsibly. We're not getting commission off, the amount you're putting in, so who cares?
Kind of responsibly. I love that. I love that.
This was so awesome, man. Seriously, though, thank you again for making this happen, rescheduling, making it work, putting it together. A fucking great episode of the Boardroom. And with that, this meeting of the Boardroom is adjourned.